Your assumption of AI from 3 months ago is completely irrelevant today. I vibe coded my production app over a course of 3 weekends, in total, maybe 10 hours. The capability of Claude Opus today is I could go for a walk for 30 minutes, come back and expect that we have 90% of everything done correctly.
Paul, welcome to the show.
Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited to chat with you today, Paul. Your workflows are mind-blowing, and I'm so excited for everybody to hear about them and to learn about them. But in addition to that, we've shown a bunch of workflows on this show, but your philosophy on software development and on building businesses, building AI native businesses is to me mind-blowing, and I'm so excited for you to tell everybody about the way that you work. So, before we dive in, just so that everybody has a sense for what you do, maybe just tell us, what do you do today? What is your company?
Yeah, sure. So today I am what I call myself a vibe marketer. Essentially, I turn content that businesses have and put them on a platform called Reddit. A lot of businesses come to me because it's a new channel. They don't really understand how to publish content on Reddit, get their accounts suspended, downloads are scary, and moderators are also really tough in the moderation policies. So we just help them create content on Reddit.
So that's super interesting. This is something that, and again, for anyone who's paying attention to what's going on in LLMs these days, Reddit is important because you search on an LLM, you go ask ChatGPT, what's the best CRM software or something like that. And ChatGPT will go look at different sources. But it turns out that Reddit is a really great place that a lot of these LLMs are using as a source. So Reddit was always important, but it seems that in the age of AI, it's more important than ever.
Exactly, yeah. Reddit is a trusted place on the internet. People love to do product reviews there. And because of the high trustworthiness of Reddit content, LLMs are indexing and citing it as sources.
And so the reason I want to emphasize this is so A, your company is just super relevant in the age of AI because you help companies figure this out. But the thing I want to dive into is not only is your company relevant, but the way that you built this company is super interesting. So you said you're a vibe marketer, and I'm going to dig into that. But you're also a software developer by training, right? Like you wrote code for you've done multiple startups.
Yeah. Yeah, so in my previous life, I was the CTO of 3 different startups. Before that, I worked as a software developer for nearly 10 years. So all of my training has been software and writing software. But, since the start of AI or the launch of ChatGPT 3.5, I quickly realized that potentially writing code was not a good career choice anymore, or especially in the future. So I had to pivot into something that's a little bit more AI proof.
That's super interesting. I just have to dig in on that. So, for you, that moment was GPT 3.5, where you're like, okay, writing code for a living may not be what it has been. That's early. Like, I think in 3.5, people were like, okay, this is pretty cool. It can create a Minesweeper game or like some JavaScript game. But I don't think people had concluded that. So, you were early on the feeling the AGI, if you will.
Yeah. So it was a little bit of unlucky and lucky, I guess, at the same time. So I had a dev agency before this. During the pandemic, it was great. We could have got contracts left and right without really any selling process, without marketing ourselves. A lot of that came from referral. So right around the launch of ChatGPT 3.5, around March of 2023, we quickly saw just the impact of software development contracts drop off a cliff. So it's a combination of end of zero interest rate policy plus GPT. A lot of our conversations evolved around, well, can AI do this in 6 months for half the price? Even though that as software developers, we kind of knew that no, with 3.5, you couldn't do that. But a lot of the buyers of software believe.
That's so interesting. So people were actually like your customers as a negotiation point, they would come to you and say, like, well, can AI do it for half the price? That is so interesting. I have to ask you, Paul, do you still have friends that I feel like everybody has friends who do similar work to them. So do you still have friends who are running software development agencies.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and, like, what did they say? What are people talking about these days? Like, where are the customer conversations, or is it tough to get business? Is it easier to get business? Is there pricing pressure? What has happened? Fast forward a few years.
So AI still follows the typical technology adoption curve. It's probably one of the fastest adoption curve that I've ever seen. So like, internet took 20, 30 years to adopt. AI took maybe 5 to 10 years. Really, we're about 5 years in. So there's still people who doesn't even quite use or understand what the impact of AI on. I have friends that are senior developers. They don't use AI or their companies don't let them to use AI. It's against the corporate policy.
And in your opinion, when you have a senior developer that doesn't use AI, and like there's various, some people use AI, and then there's people who really use AI. Like, what do you think it is that, for the people that use it in the way that you do, and people that don't, what is it that causes some people to be at the forefront and then others not to be?
It's the same way that some people adopt are early adopters of technology. Some people are fast followers and some people are laggards. It's just personality. Some people are just not willing to change.
So let's talk about what this new world actually looks like. So I know for your company, you started, you are a software developer, you were CTO, so you can obviously code. Give us a glimpse of what goes on in the background. You guys have built a bunch of internal software. How much of that code would you say is AI generated?
About 100%, let's say.
What? That's insane. Actually?
In the last 6 to 8 months, I've not wrote a line of code.
That is pretty insane to hear. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to play devil's advocate here, but how is that possible? Your code must have security vulnerabilities left, right, and center. What do you say to that?
So if you create the correct structure, that's not an issue. So AI tools now allow you to go through planning mode. The planning mode is exactly when you sit down and say, "Hey, I want strict policies." So access policies, permissions, row level security. These are things that a developer should know, and AI can implement it for you. It's only when the coder doesn't understand that these things exist and they do not include it in the initial planning phase that security problems happen.
Okay. So if you know what you're doing in your software developer, it's just the process of typing out the code that can be automated away. So let me ask you another sort of question here. You might get to a place where all of a sudden there's spaghetti code and it's not good code and it becomes impossible to add features because you add something and other things break. What do you say to that?
Yeah, very, very good point. So, all good software development coding standards still apply to AI. So, at the simplest thing that you could do is tell the AI to always break up code. No single file should have more than 500 lines of code. That surprisingly gets rid of 90% of spaghetti code. And also, it saves you token cost, right? A lot of the token cost comes from AI repeatedly parsing through really large files, right? Like 10,000 lines of code. So if you always break up your file into very small chunks and components, that doesn't happen. The second thing that you can always tell AI to do is write tests. AI is really, really good at writing tests. So if, for example, in software development, you could do something called test-driven development. You could let AI decide on what the end result is. And then after deciding or collaborating with the AI what your expected behavior is, then get AI to implement. So in all of my software, we have comprehensive test suites. We always refer back to the test and make sure that everything passes.
So I'm going to ask you this question. So Paul today versus Paul 2 years ago, like if you guys were to face off, Paul of today has access to AI. How much better do you think you are than yourself 2 years ago now that you have AI?
So I was never a fast developer in the first place. AI just absolutely 10x. So like I'll give you an example, right? It took me about 2 years to build my last startup. in terms of like capability and number of features in that startup is comparable to the amount of features that we have in our current day application.
And how long did it take you to build the current day application?
So completely. So the first draft, the MVP took me 3 to 4 weekends. So let's say a month,
That's insane.
across a month. So in total, I would say 10 to 15 hours.
Okay, this is all mind blowing. And you and I talked about this before the show, but just so that everybody else kind of also hears, they're like, oh, 3 to 4 weekends. But you guys are, I mean, we're not going to talk about exact numbers, but 7 figures of revenue, and you're doing it all with like 4 people.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, just to let that sink in for everybody. It's so interesting to hear, like, and I love having people like you on this show because it really allows the world to kind of see what a modern day company looks like and just to kind of challenge the norms. And I hope people hear this and forward this episode around to other maybe people in the org that are skeptics or who are non-believers, and it's amazing to see what is possible. So let's talk about the way that you build software. Obviously, you know what's going on. You've built systems. I mean, you're CTO. You were in charge, like you were in charge of all the tech. So you understand the software development process. Talk to us about, if you want to build a component or a feature or something in your software, just like what are the steps? Because you talked about plan mode. Maybe talk to me about if you have an idea for a feature, what are the steps that you take in order to build it?
The way that I'll describe it maybe is I'll tell you what used to happen and I'll tell you how that's changed. So it used to happen is you have a team, you run sprints. The sprint is let's say it used to last a week or 2 weeks. And usually sprints are planned around a feature, right? And this feature would involve a few people. Let's say the dev team, the developers that actually code the thing up. This developer might divide into the front end and the back end developers. And then you will involve a designer, a product designer, like a UX designer. And then you will also involve a project manager or product owner, right? So used to software involved a team of people. They will sit down, plan through this. They will allocate resources, estimate the amount of time and resource it would take to implement this feature. Today, all of that gets compressed into, let's say, 1 or 2 people at most. The planning mode that I described earlier is really the one place where you can agree on all the outcomes across everyone. So the way that I will hand off work to my developer is instead of talking to my project manager, or the developer, or the designer, I would just talk to the AI and I would iterate on a plan. The plan could be a 2 page document outlining exactly what needs to be done. And I will hand this off to the developer.
So basically, and then what about the design part? Like, do you do anything on the visuals? Do you use AI for that part?
So I think so right now, no, but I know that Figma is coming out with things with Vibe design tools as well. Right now, we use a few things. So Gemini 3 is really good at creating really good UI UX. So a lot of times the way that AI works is it's really good at creating things that already work. Yes, while our application look a lot like every other SaaS application, it works.
So you spend a bunch of time planning, and these plans are like super detailed, I assume, right? So it's not just I want a feature that does this. Maybe there's some technical specs in there too. If I want you to take this approach or reuse this component, or go look at the code for this that is already there. So you're being very specific, right? So as if you had a team and you were the manager of the team, and you would just like outline all the things that you would want to be done in the way that you want it to be done. And in some places, maybe you're like, surprise me, come up with some ideas, but that's general. Okay, so you have the plan. If you said of the 100% of your time to build a feature, how much of the time is spent on the plan?
So I would say 80% of the time should be spent on the planning.
Okay. Okay. So that's a really good framing. So 80% of the time is on the plan. And once you have the plan, is there a way that you approach it? So would you then break the plan up into actions for the AI to take, or what is your approach from turning the plan into real production code?
Yeah, so within the plan, it should completely outline every single step that either AI can parse the plan to implement, or a human could do the same. So, like, we spend a lot of the time in the planning phase. We kind of step through the plan, make sure that everything makes sense at a human level, and then we just literally take the plan and give it to AI to implement. So if you're using a tool like Cursor, this is all built in. It's just a single button click, and the AI will implement the plan for you.
Okay, so you're not even doing things like, break it apart into tasks and so on and so forth. That stuff is now just built in. Hey everyone, just a quick pause on today's episode to tell you about my day job. In addition to This New Way, I'm the CEO of a company called Fellow.ai, and Fellow is an AI meeting assistant. It joins all your meetings, it summarizes them, tracks the action items and the decision, and does that better than any other tool that you've seen. We've spent a ton of time making sure that the meeting notes and summaries and action items that come out of Fellow are the most accurate, the most precise. It beats any human. You have to try it. But in addition to that, what makes Fellow different is that it is the first AI note taker built from the ground up with security and privacy in mind. This means that you can use it for all your meetings, not just the customer facing ones, but also the sensitive ones, things like one-on-ones and executive team meetings and those QBRs and everything in between. It's got really good judgment. So for example, if you start a meeting and you're talking about some social stuff that you don't really want on the record that's going to get emailed to everyone afterwards, Fellow just knows. It just doesn't include those things. Or say you have something that you talked about and later on you realize, oh man, that shouldn't have been there. It makes it really easy. You can go back to the meeting, select that part, delete it, and then it's gone from the record. It connects to all of the other tools you use in the organization, whether that's Slack or Asana or HubSpot or Salesforce or Linear or Jira or Confluence, whatever it is, Fellow integrates with all those things. I think the best part is that Fellow also acts as an AI chief of staff. Because it sits on all the meetings and the conversations that you have access to, you can ask it really cool questions such as, what are the biggest opportunities in my company? What are the bottlenecks in engineering? And Fellow just pieces together information, sees trends, and it can answer those sorts of questions. It can even do things like, hey, based on all of the one-on-ones that I've had with this particular person, can you create them a performance review? And it can do things like that too. And the sky's really the limit. What I really wanted you to do is have the opportunity to try out Fellow, check it out, and we're making a special offer available to all our listeners. So just go to fellow.ai/thisnewway to try Fellow. There's a discount code in there for you if you decide to continue with it. Either way, I would love for you to try it and let me know what you think. And with that said, let's go back to the episode. One of the things that the time we're recording this, we just had Opus 4.5 live. Gemini 3 is maybe a few weeks in now. What's your view of these models? Like from the latest things that are out there, what difference has it made for you in your work?
Yeah, Opus 4.5 is really, really good. The way that I would describe this is, back with GPT 3.5, I physically couldn't look away from the screen. Every 30 seconds, it would either error out or I would have to restart. I would have to always be monitoring the screen. So think of it as like a very early, very junior intern that's writing code. With Claude, especially with Sonnet, it progressed to a point where I could go away and grab a coffee and come back. So let's say 5 to 10 minutes. I would come back, evaluate what the current step is, maybe nudge it towards the right direction if it veered off from our target goal. With Opus 4.5, really you could go for a walk for 30, 40 minutes and come back and expect it to be still on track and 90% complete.
That's crazy. Like that it could just work for 40 minutes and then not error out and then just come back with a result. That is pretty crazy. I have to ask you, what does your cursor bill look like just for you? Order of magnitude.
Yeah, so I have the ultra plan, so that's $200, and sometimes I go over by a couple $100. So the most I was spending a month is around $500.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. And what's your view of this stuff? Do you think that, this time next year will AI coding be more expensive or less expensive?
That's a good question. I really hope it'll get less expensive. So like Opus is really, really expensive. I blew through a quarter of billion tokens in a weekend when it launched.
Okay, that's awesome. Is there just for anecdotally? So one is like the time that you can like leave it working while you walk away. Was there anything that you tested and you were like, wow, before I couldn't do this, but now I can do this? Was there anything like that?
I'll kind of tell you what the walking away part, what is it actually doing walking away? So beforehand, you couldn't really tell it to iterate towards a goal without it just get stuck in a loop or just completely go off the goal. So I'll kind of give you an example. If you're writing any uh, browser automation, right? You could give it a final goal of, let's say, I want to be able to purchase and verify that I purchased item on the screen. Before with, let's say, GPT 3.5, the model will completely break. It will have no idea how to interact with the browser. It will have no idea what it's looking at. The model is text only, so you will need to train multiple models together for it to parse images and videos, etc. So now with Opus, it can literally take screenshots of what's going on your screen and evaluate what's the current step it's in. It could continuously iterate towards the target goal that you give it.
It's pretty crazy. It's almost like, and are you using that feature in Cursor now where you can have multiple things happening for you all at the same time? Like, are you finding yourself solving parallel problems all at the same time?
Yeah, so with the parallel, you can't use it to code in parallel. Not really, because there are some language server limitations. But what you could do is you could get it to come up with a plan. You could launch multiple agents to come up different implementations of the same plan and get it to compete with each other and get another agent to evaluate and pick the best plan.
That's super cool. In practicality, do you end up using that?
Yes. So in the planning phase, we do.
Okay, in the planning phase, you will get multiple agents to help you come up with different plans and approaches.
Yeah. A good way of doing this is spin up multiple agents using different language models and get them to create the plan separately because there are some quirks between different language models. And then you can then get a final agent to evaluate all of the plans.
Are we at this space right now, do you think, where you could go to sleep and then you have agents working in the background building your software for you?
I think in maybe one or two releases, we should be able to
Okay.
get there.
So 3
And
months, 6 months,
yeah,
6
let's say
months?
12 months. Yeah,
Let's say
maybe this
12
time
months.
end of 2026. The problem really is the cost, though. That's the biggest problem right now. So, like, if you're continuously running your agent for, let's say, 12 hours, you're going to rack up a really big bill.
But this has major implications, right? So for I mean, my sense is that a lot of companies are just going to build internal tools the easier it becomes. It used to be because you were in a development agency before, right? So let's say I came to you 4 years ago or 5 years ago. I came to you in 2020 and I said, Paul, can you please help me build an app? I have an idea for an app, right? And say that I'm just gonna make up something like it's a kind of like it's a calorie tracker app, right? And I just want to track my meals for the day. And I have this idea that the whole world is gonna use it. And I have these designs that I put on paper. What would you have quoted me 5 years ago to get, your team to work on building that?
Yeah, so funny enough, we literally built a healthcare app that's like a calorie tracker that you could talk to a nutritionist. At these types of apps, on average, we would call around 60,000 US dollars. It would take us about 4 to 6 months to get an MVP out the door, and there will
Oh,
be
and by the way,
continuous.
that's super. That's like you guys were. I mean, I feel like it would be way more like that. That's a really good deal, actually, because like this stuff could have cost like hundreds of thousands of dollars
Oh,
easily, right?
100%. Yeah, 100%. So like it's not so for any kind of healthcare related or like calorie tracker that has any HIPAA compliance issues, typically people bill up to $250,000 for just the MVP.
So just for an MVP, and so today you can can you vibe code apps on your phone?
Yes. So there's company like anything. You can vibe code it on your phone. There's companies like Speckcode where you can vibe code HIPAA compliant applications.
Is it that was called spec code? What was the second one called?
Yep. The second one is called Speckcode,
Okay, and
SPEC
the
code.
first one is called
Anything.
anything,
Yep.
anything, and that's specifically for vibe coding apps for iOS
Yeah,
or Android.
exactly. Yeah.
All right, so there you have it. Can I assume that with these tools, you can now do the same thing in a weekend?
You should be able to.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason I just want to emphasize that is because this is going to have implications, right? It's kind of hard to predict all the implications, but the world has changed and this is a crazy wake up call. One thing I will say though is because we've been talking about and we've shown a bunch of vibe coding apps. I mean, I think episode number 1 of This New Way was with my friend Liam Martin, and first ever app we talked about was Lovable, and we built something on Lovable. I think the thing that has changed is what you said. So, maybe like 6 months ago or a year ago, you'd build prototypes. Now you can build production grade apps and you can do it all and it doesn't break. I mean, you have to know how to use it, but it's just like the advancement of what you can do. So I think the conclusion for me is you just have to go and retest your assumptions. What you thought was not possible 3 months ago is likely now possible. Go back and recheck those things that you assumed.
Exactly. Yeah. Just the way that this technology is improving every 3 to 6 months, you just have to reevaluate your assumptions.
Okay, so Paul, now I have some more questions. Again, AI native company, you're a developer. It sounds like, I mean, you said that you are now 10x more productive than you were 2 years ago, thanks to AI. But yeah, you went and you actually hired another software developer on the team. So why did you do that? A, and two, what kind of a person did you look for? Like when you hire someone knowing the things that you know, how do you evaluate them? What kind of questions do you ask?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So that's something that even myself, I'm still trying to figure out. I'm starting to formulate that this developer should at least be either design leaning as well or project management leaning. So they can't just be a really good developer anymore. They need to be able to think at a higher level, either, be very empathetic with the user in a design UX sense, or be high level enough to understand that this feature fits into this wider picture in a project management perspective.
Why is that? Like, what happens if you're not leaning towards design and you don't have project management skills? I guess you're saying it's a big disadvantage.
Yeah, so I can only speak to early stage startups. Maybe it's different for larger companies, but at an early stage startup, just the speed that we're iterating and getting things out the door and shipping, it's so fast that if you're boggled down by communication between multiple parties, you're just going to ship 10 times slower than your competitor. And that's a huge disadvantage. Kind of like anecdotally, I'll tell you a story that I confirmed with another founder of mine, a founder friend of mine. They've been around for 2 to 3 years. They had a traditional dev team, 10 people, costed them $70,000 a month to maintain. With AI, they essentially downsized to just 1 or 2 developers overseas. And these developers will, using AI tools, ship faster, like 10 times faster than the 10 dev team. And the reason why this is because a lot of devs are still kind of siloed away from the designers, away from the project managers. They don't talk to the founders. They get the spec and they only write the code. In this today, you can't be that person anymore. That person will not survive.
So I see it's basically if you I mean the less communication that needs to happen where you can just have everybody basically as much as you can hold within one person, you just short circuit the communication and things can happen faster. So it makes sense and so you're looking for that kind of a person and then of course you're evaluating someone with their AI usage, right? So how do you know if someone is I mean, in the age of AI, it's even hard to test someone's skills, right? You can't give them an assignment to take home because, you know, AI can now do the assignment. So, how do you test them? And also, how do you test to see if they're AI native in the way that you want?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. At the core, your development skills as a software engineer is still the same. So some of the key skills that a senior developer have becomes more valuable. So the only difference, let's say, between a senior developer and junior developer is that the senior developer knows what the right question to ask are. So with AI today, it's a lot of conversations with the AI. So, when something goes wrong, you need to be able to troubleshoot what happened. With a senior developer or the developer with the AI tool, this person needs to be able to troubleshoot exactly what happened without knowing all of the details of the code. So it's like the skill that a senior developer have when they review someone else's code is now more valuable because you didn't write all of the code.
By the way, as you're describing this, like this sounds fun, right? It's the like you're solving problems at a high level, you're architecting things. You don't have to do the busy work. You're just focusing on the highest level things. So I actually think this is really exciting. I think it means all humans, all of us move up the stack. We do more fulfilling work across the board. And yeah, it's just we spend time strategizing, talking to AIs, deploy agents. We're maybe not doing the work, we're orchestrating the work. And that sounds like fun to me.
So it personally does sound fun to me. However, I know for a fact that some developers just want to do individual contribution work, right? So once you move up to like the staff or architect level, all you should be doing is reviewing someone else's code. But some developers I know for a fact that, you're 15 years into your career, 20 years into your career, all they do is review code and they do miss the part where they are actively writing the code. So I think there will be disparaging. Not everyone will adopt this tech.
Super interesting. I mean, lots of things shifting. Hey, everyone. Hope you're enjoying the episode. One of the common things that we hear is hey, you all talk about all these different tools. You walk through these demos. Sometimes it's hard for me to follow along. We decided to do recently was take all the things that we talk about, put them in a weekly newsletter. We literally list all the tools, we link to them, and any demo that we walk through, we break it down step by step, put it in this newsletter so it's super easy for you to follow along. And the other nice thing is that if there's someone on your team that you think could benefit, they're working on that subject area, they could use a little bit of AI injection into their workflow, send them the newsletter, send them that particular episode. We make it super easy to do that. It's free to sign up. All you have to do is go to thisnewway.com, enter your email address, and you'll get this weekly email from us. Hope you enjoy it. With that said, let's go back to the episode. One thing that I want to just quickly touch on, and then maybe we can jump into some of the workflows that you want to show us in like the last 10 minutes here. You had a very interesting software development approach that you talked about, which is, before I start building anything, the first thing I'm going to do is string together tools in Notion and N8N and maybe Zapier, just some workflows like this. And then, like, once I build it and it kind of works and I know that this is the right workflow, then I will make it into my own software. And that's super interesting. Is that something that you still do today?
Yes. Yeah. So this kind of again falls into good software engineering practices. So I firmly believe that you should figure out the data structure, the fundamental shape of the data first. A lot of first time founders and builders, they jump directly into building, let's say, the UI and without getting the data structure correct. So for example, the first iteration of the of our tool was built inside of Notion. And what that helped us do is instead of worrying about, okay, do we need a Kanban board? Do we need a calendar view? How do we communicate what's being done with our customer? What we figured out is what is the thing or what are the parameters that the customer cares about in the first place, right? So these things are, oh, what subreddits are content being posted on, and that could be created super fast instead of Notion database as a database entry. But if you do this on, let's say, a custom built platform, that might involve database migrations, and you have like data problems, right? You have to migrate from one type of column into another. So don't slow yourself down. Use prototyping tools, use Notion databases to quickly iterate and figure out what people actually want.
That's a very good observation. I love that idea. What are you going to show us today in terms of the workflows that you and again, I'm very grateful that you're showing this to us. It kind of gives everybody a sense for what it looks like inside of an AI native company and what kind of things broadly are automated with automations.
For sure. So by all means, we are still using NAN heavily to do a lot of the AI things. So I can show you a couple workflows that we heavily use. One of our workflows essentially takes a piece of Reddit content, smacks it together with the knowledge database that we've created for every single one of our clients, and take template responses from Reddit and creates an output. I know this workflow looks absolutely crazy, but at a very high level, essentially what this does is I have multiple agents chained together. They use different models. We route it through OpenRouter. So this one uses Brock for fast and free because they're fast and free. This agent essentially can fetch very, very specific information that's relevant to the prompt from our knowledge database that's stored inside of a Pinecone. And based on that knowledge, it can then formulate a piece of content that we use to post on Reddit. And we have sub workflows here that essentially what it can do is it can evaluate a piece of content using multiple agents and combine that together to create a almost like a committee to determine if this piece of content is valuable or not. So we do a little bit of prediction on if a piece of content will do well or not do well on Reddit.
And if it says that it doesn't do well, what happens? Does it like go through the process again?
Exactly. Yeah. So if this committee says that this piece of content is not valuable, then essentially we'll kick that back to the human. The human will have the ultimate decision to either regenerate the piece of content or manually edit that piece of content.
Okay.
So there's always a piece of a human in the loop. So that's kind of like this is one workflow that determines all of our response engines, and the way that we also have a whole bunch of workflows that cross entire website of our client, uses embedding models like the OpenAI embedding models and stores that into the Pinecone database.
That's awesome. And why do you all use OpenRouter versus just going directly to the model that you want to choose?
Yeah, it's just the easy way so that we can quickly switch back and forth between different models. So we are
Mhm.
always fine tuning. We're always trying to see which model does the best. And if you look online, there are talks where a model performs really well in the first couple weeks of launch, and then you can kind of slowly see it degrade over time. And we do see this on our end as well. So, like for example, GPT is very, very notorious in this. When it first launches, it's really good, and then over a course of 3 to 4 weeks, it kind of reverts back to mean performance.
And why do you think that is?
I think it's just cost.
The
That's my
realities of cost.
reality of cost. About a couple of months ago, MCP was kind of like the hottest thing in AI. MCP is just a really fancy way for AI agents to call tools. So we did build a variation of AI agents that uses MCP servers. So this AI agent with a master prompt, it essentially gets it to generate piece of content as well. And this AI agent has access to a whole bunch of tools that we built that can fetch Reddit posts, that can look at the top Reddit posts instead of subreddit, that can fetch our entire Reddit account's information and create personas around that Reddit account. And it can also read databases and format outputs. So it's just another way to create your AI tool.
That's super cool. And is this the one that you guys are using now, like the compressed one?
We use it. We use it in different scenarios. So this one is used when we generate the post itself. This one we use when we're generating a reply to a post. And they're honestly they're very similar. The only difference is we just wanted to test different toolings and just compare the output of both.
And I'm sure, like, you've iterated on this a lot. This obviously looks very complex, right? So many pieces, probably lots of troubleshooting and tuning. But like, what would this take to build? Like a month, a couple of
Yeah.
weeks?
So if it depends on the person. If they know NAN really well, then you can probably build this within a week, let's say. Very, very. But if you don't know NAN very well, like you're coming from other automation tools like Zapier, maybe it will take you a couple weeks just to get
The hang of it.
the hang of it. Exactly. Yeah.
Very cool. This is super impressive. Super impressive. Thank you for showing this to us. I think this really kind of opens the view, and it's very interesting. I feel like because you started, in the age of AI, you were able to like think from scratch, what is the best way to do this? And so now are you moving away from this and building your own custom software?
Yes. So I'm at a point where I need to scale. Scale as in, right now I'm still manually onboarding all of our new clients. So for every single client, I'm creating a duplicating workflow, manually punching in their website, pointing to their blog content. Now I'm moving all of that in-house, so all of this could be automated away. So the only thing that the client needs to punch in is their website URL, and the system should be smart enough to be able to crawl their entire website.
But you're going to like build it with code, or are you actually going to still use N8N
No, it will be built inside of
with code?
with code. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Paul, this is amazing. Thank you so much for showing this all to us. For the audience like that wants to get in touch with you, how can they find you online?
Yeah, so I'm on social media. My handle is PXUE. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on X. And my website is karmic.buzz. You can book a call with me as well.
Okay, awesome. And so, final question like we like to ask everybody, is there something specific that you're really hoping that you can do with AI that you're excited about that's not quite there yet, but in the next 12 months you think might be there?
Well, that's a really good question. So I think AI right now is still really early in terms of just being self-aware enough that when it's deviating away from a goal. So in the future, I really want to be able to give AI a goal, and it'll automatically know how to look for the best tools to use. So example is, Claude or Anthropic has tried to do this with a stock trading AI. It doesn't work right now.
Oh, when this gets to stock trading, that will be fun. Okay, Paul, this has been amazing, mind-blowing episode. Thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of This New Way. If you like the content, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe so you can get notified when we post the next episode. See you next time.